what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Jake, so yesterday LSU completes their 10th practice halfway down, and I got to say, dude, I really like this. Sounds like the LSU defense won the day again, acquitting themselves very well. And one of the kind of exciting developments that is being reported on is a new front. Remember the old, which one made all the waves about over a decade ago? Many of you probably won't remember, but like the cheetah package, right? Wasn't that like, who? It was like maybe like Mingo and some others. It was just all the fast defensive ends.
Montgomery.
Yeah, Flash would have been in there for sure. I'm trying to think. But basically, it was just all fast guys on the field at once, right? Well, it's back, of course. And this time it's called the Prowler front. And it's Braden Swinson, Savion Jones, and Paris Shand. Chances are Deshaun Womack would probably be in that mix as well, but he left practice yesterday. But it's those three on the line, and then it's Perkins and Witt kind of hanging about, hovering around. And it's a group that has been used very effectively, Jake, against a very good LSU offensive line.
Yeah.
On Saturday, they got a sack and a couple tickles. And yesterday, I love hearing this because these are sort of game-changing plays that you're expecting this team to make. They came up with a big pick where Harold Perkins deflects the ball, and then Paris Shand dives and picks it off. So the LSU defense, and again, in the eternal camp paradox of, does this mean, that side's good, the other side's bad? We know the LSU offensive line is good.
Yep.
And we're about 95% sure the LSU offense is really good. So if the defense is winning, unlike last year, because Taylor, they never won last year, right? Like ever.
No, I mean, if you had 20 reps, they may have taken one or two max.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, this defense appears to have a pulse, boys.
Yeah.
Appears to have a pulse, boys.
Well, it's like we talked about yesterday, because I know so many people that went to practice like, oh my gosh, the offense is cooking the defense. It's doomsday. It's going to be the same that it was last year. It's like, well, no, if you understand the dynamics of, one, training camp and what it is, but also the offense, new coordinator, sure, but still Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, still right there calling the same offense, the same terminology. The offensive line, the continuity there.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that on defense right now. You have a Garrett Nussmeier. Sure, he's a new starter, but he's been here for so long, knows the offense inside and out. He's not a transfer trying to learn the offense. I mean, we could go position by position. Josh Williams has been here. Josh Williams was on the 2019 LSU football team.
Legend.
Okay, that tells you how long Josh has been here. Josh is going to know his assignment inside and out, and we could go all across the board. John Emery was on that team too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they had it figured out. They already knew who they were, their identity. They didn't have to wait around and the schematics of it. Man, what do I got right here? No, they know what they have. And so, sure, that was going to win early in training camp. Now, the defense, they had to make up so much ground. And I'm not saying that they're where the offense is. They're not in its totality. But you could tell, like, every single practice, they're making some progress, and they're understanding what Blake wants to get done. The players are starting to see, oh, man, hey, that guy's out of the rotation. He ain't going to be in here. This is the guy that I'm going to be next to in a bulk of the action here. And so then that camaraderie starts on the defensive side of the football. That's just how it plays out. You have a new coordinator. You have new terminology. And so, sure, it was going to take 8, 9 practices for them to start making plays on this offense. And so, again, I'm not saying they're going to be a top 25 defense, but when I started to hear the offense was winning early in camp, I'm like, well, they should be winning early in camp because of all the things that we just laid out. And so it's great to hear the defense is now starting to make those plays as they start to come together.
I agree. Winning the day yesterday. And, in fact, let's go to a little Wit Weeks here, Alondra, as we talk about the defense kind of coming online under Blake Baker. And I want to go to weeks 1. What's the most exciting part about Blake Baker's defense?
The thing that I'm definitely most excited about is how aggressive we are this year. We blitz a lot more than last year, and also just the energy that Coach Baker brings in every meeting we go to. There's never a dull moment in this building because he's here now.
Think about all of.
There's never a dull moment in this building because he's here now.
That's what I'm saying. And this is not one person saying this. Every time we hear from a defensive player and they're asked about their new coach, they talk about the energy. Every single time. And look, just from a personality standpoint, you could not be more different than what you had last season. I also love the idea of aggression. It seemed like last year you were so terrified of making the big mistake that you consistently let the opponent dictate to you. A lot of times you can think about football in terms of military engagement. You know what matters in military engagement? Taking the initiative, right? Dictating to the opponent. Make them react to what you're doing as opposed to the opposite. And this LSU defense definitely seems to be doing that. In fact, here is Whit Weeks talking about the linebackers making more plays than they ever have.
You know, we get to fly around now. We get to play fast, a lot faster than we've been able to play. So now that we can play fast, we're making way more plays than we've ever made, I feel like. And then just blitzing is, you know, that's what you want to do playing linebacker. You want to be aggressive and go get sacks on the quarterback so your stats will look a lot better.
I could listen to that man talk all day long. You can tell just through his voice that man can blitz, that he loves playing wild and free and throwing his body into the pile. Again, these sound like players who have reached the promised land. After 40 years of wandering the desert, here they are in the land of milk and tiffles, and it tastes delicious. And just finally being able to be aggressive and play free and run, it feels like they've all been unfettered, Jake.
You're right about being able to hear it in their voice. And we've all had a situation where we had a coach and it wasn't working out. Not even necessarily that you didn't like that coach as a person, but sometimes it is. You don't like him as a person and it just does not work out. And then you get new life and you're like, oh, this is what it can be. This is what it should be. This is what we've got moving forward. And you can hear that in all of their voices. And it's not that hard. And again, I said this yesterday. Matt House didn't forget how to coach football. There's a reason, like, as soon as he got let go, he got a job in the NFL. Yeah. But for whatever reason, the communication, the relationship, everything that you have to be really good, talent gets you so far. We all know that. But the communication part on defense, I think, is even more vital than it is on offense, right? You have to be able to have that. There was none of that last year. There was no connection. There was no relationship. And it showed. I mean, it showed after the bowl game when the players weren't even saying congratulations on winning the bowl game. It showed by some guys going straight to the NFL just because they thought maybe Matt House would be back as the defensive coordinator. Yeah. All of that showed, and now you're seeing the other side of it where these players are getting something completely different.
Tiffles or TFLs, guys. Tiffles are tackles for loss.
Sometimes he says tickles if he's feeling really froggy.
But yeah, no, I mean, Jake, you're exactly right. Like, Matt House knows ball. What he couldn't do consistently, and I say consistently because he did it pretty well year one. For whatever reason, fell apart with more time together. But what he could not do was meet the players where they were at and get them to understand and then pump them up, right? Like in the NFL, a lot of those guys are going to be more self-starters. I mean, would you agree with that? I don't know. Like position group coaches aren't necessarily there to motivate you but also in the NFL, players have to meet the coach where he's at, right? Because if you can't do it mentally, if you can't rise to the level, well, I got a guy who's 100th of a second slower right here, right? He may be 100th of a second slower, but he knows the playbook better, so he's in. You're out.
Yep.
That's not the case in college. And Blake Baker constantly talks about learning how guys learn. You know, what is this guy? Is he a visual learner, a physical, whatever the case may be? We're going to meet them where they're at to make sure they understand the assignment. And that seems to be paying dividends. Let's get back to more Whit Weeks here. This is on how Baker has helped him develop.
If I were to say one specific thing, it would definitely be pass rush. Other than that, he's definitely developed me in his I guess he's been here for 8 months now. He's definitely developed me in a very good way, I'd say. I'm very, very pleased with how his coaching style and what he brings to the table.
How motivated is this defense, Whit Weeks?
Very motivated. I mean, we know how it was last year, and it's not going to happen again. And like I was saying earlier, the energy that Coach Baker brings, like, it really feels like he's, like, rejuiced us. Like, last year we got a little deflated, and now we're flying around and having fun again.
Hell
You're
yes,
trying to
dude.
hide it.
Hell
It's
yes, dude.
man, last year sucked.
This is weeks 5, talking about who's CB1.
Definitely. I mean, he's definitely cornerback one in my eyes. I mean, he's made some spectacular plays this camp. Which, I mean, you look at it and you're like, going into USC, you're like, that's the dude that I want out there on the field.
And finally, here is what weeks and where he's grown most in this offseason from year 1 to year 2.
I've definitely grown up a lot, I'd say. Last year my head was spinning when I was out there practice during games. It was so fast. I feel like it's really, and Coach Baker's helped me a lot on this too. Like, the game's kind of slowing down for me now. I'm much better with my eyes. I can read plays a lot better, and now that I've got better with my eyes, I can kind of judge which play's coming based on the offensive formations. And we do a lot of that in film study as well.
Oh, dude, I'm starting to get a little fired up again. I'm starting to rubber band back. All it took was that dazed and confused time traveler and that country accent to get me a little fired up for Blake Baker. I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Blake.
One of the things, and
Bob the Believer.
I don't think anybody would mind me sharing this. I was talking with Greg Penn at LSU's Pro Day, so in the spring, and I was kind of asking him some of the same questions, like, hey man, how's it been with Blake? Because he was here with Blake the first time, and you could tell like they really, had a good relationship and he enjoyed him. He's like, man, just having the ability to communicate and ask questions in the meeting. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, man, we get to actually, hey, why are we doing this? What is where should we be aligned if this happens? What should we get a chance to, when something happens, get to actually voice our concerns, or, trying to make sure that we double down and ask, like, hey, this is where you want us to be, like whatever it might be. And he's like, we didn't have that ability a year ago.
Wow.
I'm like, what? He's like, yeah.
Rascal Flats and all that. If Blake Baker ends up being the savior of this defense, then the broken road that led us here would all been worth it. But we'll learn here in a couple of weeks. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.